You're listening to the Mastermind Parenting Podcast with Randy Rubenstein, episode 111. My name's Randy Rubenstein, and welcome to the Mastermind Parenting Podcast, where we believe when your thoughts grow, the conversations in your home flow. So I highly suggest you guys do that tapping and be dumping out your brain, guys, like we've got to. I have anxiety too, literally. Like, I've been waking up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and having to read. If you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you guys, don't get on Facebook. I can't tell you how many people have admitted to me that they go on their phone, their computer, they check their email, they get on Facebook. All that does is give your brain a dopamine hit and keep you awake more. And like, we're just not going to be able to be patient and awesome and homeschool teachers and all the things, and take and see this time as truly an opportunity to get back to the basics. I have it on my agenda today to watch the Bill Gates TED Talk with my kids. Somebody just told me that, like, evidently, I read a little bit about it, that he did a TED Talk in 2015 where he pretty much predicted this. So I'm going to watch that with the kids. But yeah, I saw somebody make a post about how they were like, I came home from work, I'm able to, I went for a walk at 5 because I don't have to, normally I'd be sitting in traffic for an hour at 5 coming home from work, but instead I'm home. So I took a walk, and she's like, like the families playing outside, walking together, playing basketball, like all the things. She's like, I felt like it was 1978 again. Like it was a blast from the past. So I think people are seeing that we have in many ways lost touch with things, and we can use this time differently and just see it differently, and just like what we do here in the Mastermind, just get back to the basics. But you gotta be taking care of you. So if you get up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep because you're feeling anxious like me, you've got to take care of you. And this is the thing me and Scott are saying right now, because I sort of feel like what's happening, of course I'm a visionary, so I'm always like, this is really a metaphor for how wonky our world has gone. Like, basically, we have a narcissistic lunatic, and I don't care what your political views are. I hate talking politics, but anyone in their right mind, I think, can agree we have a narcissistic lunatic running the world. And he's about to probably get elected again because we can't find a decent candidate to run against him. Like, it's like right now the shadow side of humanity is in charge. And I see it at the local level, I see it at the national level, I see it, I mean, look, who are we kidding? America's like the big sister of the world. So who's in charge of America is pretty much in charge of the world in a lot of ways. And so I'm like, this is the shadow side of humanity. And so Scott and I keep saying, like, where are the grown-ups? Like, we have to be the grown-ups. How can we be the grown-ups? You know what we're doing here, guys? I think this is a movement of learning how to be the grown-ups. And guess what? Being the grown-up doesn't mean we have to always be so serious. Being the grown-up still can involve magic and fun and all kinds of awesome things. It just is about being an emotional grown-up. Like, healing those old hurts, doing the responsible thing, like not going on freaking social media at 2 o'clock in the morning if you're waking up because you're anxious with coronavirus. I mean, not that you have coronavirus, but you're anxious with what coronavirus is doing in terms of the world and the panic and all of that, and managing your mind. Like, that's being the grown-up. Managing your mind, deciding to shift your thoughts, gamifying life, looking for the bigger picture, not allowing fear to run the show. Saying to yourself, Sometimes catalytic events have to happen pretty much all the time. Catalytic events have to happen to propel us to adapt and change. When things are comfy, we don't. It's like people don't sign up for a parenting program, even though we all want to be the best parents we can possibly be. Nobody signs up for it unless you've got a kid that the old stuff doesn't work with. And they dig their heels in and they're like, and they come to the table. They were born as little change agents. And so the old method of threats and bribes and punishments and rewards and yelling and all of it doesn't work. So you're like, fine. Who's this lady? What's her name again? She's like got a boy's name. She helped somebody else get results. Fine, I'll sign up for her program. And then your husband's like, what? What are you signing up for? A parenting class? Like, doesn't that just come naturally? Who has to learn about parenting? And then he shames you and he doesn't want to do it. And then eventually he starts to come around, and maybe you're watching this and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't shame anyone. I came right around. I'm a dude. Then you're an evolved dude. I say, Mastermind mamas and a few super cool daddies, because men are raised differently than women. And so lots of men come to the table just with male privilege, and y'all don't think that you have to dig in and learn something until you do. And then you realize, oh, wow, this is making my life better in every way. So I just think that's a fact. And I wish it weren't, and hopefully it won't be for that long. But my point is, so we are here because we have change agent children, and sometimes big things have to happen to propel us to change, to propel us to adapt. And we can dig our heels in, and we can fight it, and we can resist it, and we can let fear and panic run the show. And guess what that is? That's us not being the grown-ups. And guess what our kids need? They need us to be the grown-ups. They need us to manage our minds. They need us to do things like write in our daily mind manager and learn this whole thought turnaround. And when you can't figure it out, do like everyone who works privately with me is doing, and takes an attempt at it. And right here on this thread, you could do that. Right today on our call, you can do that. And I'll help you. And I'll teach you how to do it. And why do we shift our thoughts? Why do we do thought turnarounds? Because all the spiritual leaders, what they will tell you is that when you start to come towards enlightenment, what every human learns is that things fall away. Things fall away. We have to make room in our brains for the space that it takes to find that peace, to find that ability to manifest an abundant, beautiful life, even in times of panic and fear. So if y'all imagine your brain is like an elevator, and let's say you're waiting for the elevator, and the elevator comes and it's packed full of people, and there's no space for you to get in. No space whatsoever for you to get in. That is your brain. Your brain is a packed elevator with fearful, sticky thoughts, to go to the first book that we read to the kids the other day. It's a web of sticky thoughts. So when we dump in our brain in our daily mind manager and we learn to shift our thoughts, we learn to change those sticky thoughts. So we make space in the elevator for new thoughts. We have to dissolve and get rid of the sticky thoughts and turn them around and find evidence to support a new unsticky thought that feels better, to be able to get in the elevator. So if you're not doing these practices, if you're just listening to me, if you're not attempting to play with the words and to do the thought turnarounds and to see this moment as an opportunity to get back to the basics, to get back to the grown-ups being in charge, we're becoming in charge. This is what we can do. We may feel, a lot of us, powerless on a national level, and disheartened. that, I'm narcissistic lunatic, literally a emotionally stunted, probably 12-year-old who was raised with a raging father and a very dysfunctional childhood and never healed from that. He's now in a 70-something-year-old body determining lots of things, and our world is in a state of panic. And I just don't know about you guys, but I sort of feel like part of me goes to that place like a kid in defense zone who feels like, where's the grown-ups? I shouldn't be the pack leader here. I shouldn't have all the power. This feels very unsafe and uncertain. Like, that's how I'm feeling with that dude in charge of us. So right now, on a very small level, but important, we can all work on showing up as the grown-ups in our households. And what is that going to do to the collective? What is that going to do to how we raise the level of consciousness and don't give in to the fear and panic, and help our kids see this time where they remember? It's like my kids, Corey remembers Harvey here in Houston, the terrible, terrible flood where our friends lived with us for a week. And we had to go save them in a canoe, and Dad had a stand-up paddleboard that he was blowing up and taking the dogs looking for dry land to go to the bathroom. And we had lots of family meals and a whole collective grouping of people living in our home. Like, that's one of his favorite. My kids' favorite memories are like when we all hold up together for the hurricane, for Ike. Was it Ike? For Harvey. And so when we see this as an opportunity for connection, and we focus on being the grown-ups and using this opportunity, and not getting stuck in the stages of grief that involve the anger and depression and fear and panic and all those low vibe negative thoughts, we show up as the grown-ups for our kids. And then they end up having positive memories, and they grow, and we use this time. It's like this time is like it's like when people go for those retreats where they're like silent for 10 days, or they go on a retreat to grow themselves, like a personal development retreat. Let's consider this a personal development retreat for the whole family, for the whole world, to get back to like the shadow side. We cannot let the shadow side of humanity run the show anymore. It's time for the grown-ups to take back over. So who else is in? I want to hear from you guys on this thread. I want some accountability, and you to be proud and celebrate. I did my daily mind manager. I moved my body today. I tapped. Whatever it is you're doing, I did listen to the Elizabeth Gilbert little masterclass. It's so good. I've listened to it twice. I want to listen to it again and again and again. It's all about tapping into your big magic. And she has such a soothing, beautiful voice. Do that exercise. Give yourself permission. I did that in my daily mind manager today. I gave myself permission to do lots of things. What are you going to give yourself permission to do? What are you going to give yourself permission to allow to fall away? And you need permission when there's something that says, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to let your kids watch TV for 3 hours today? Who do you think you are to not make dinner and let everybody have cereal for dinner? Who do you think you are to not make your kids have a clean room and make their bed and create forts? Who do you think you are, Katie Justice? That's our favorite post. Avery Rubenstein, the Naked and Afraid posts of, like, I had to show her. She was like, oh my God, I think her daughter is me. That is us. Like her and her younger brother, like Katie's little one dressed in a loincloth because they've been watching the show Naked and Afraid. And so now they're recreating that in their backyard, which is hilarious. Who do you think you are? I'll tell you who you are. You're a child of the universe who's ready to show up as a grown-up and be part of the solution, and see this time as a personal development retreat where you get to connect and love and get back to all the things and not allow fear and panic to run the show. Are you ready to start having productive conversations? If you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you hear me go through my 3-step productive conversation process to solve any problem, and you're thinking, how does she do that? Guess what? I made a really cool resource for you guys. I call it the problem solving one sheet. Okay, it's one sheet front and back, so, take it with a grain of salt. But it will walk you through how to have productive conversations, and you'll practice, and before you know it, you'll be having productive conversations all day, every day. It really is the solution to solve any problem. So you can download it at mastermindparenting.com/problem solving. All one word. That's mastermindparenting.com/problem solving. All one word.